Good morning, and I want to welcome you all warmly to How to Fight CPS. I'm your host, Bob Pace. We want to make sure we get your children back, or if you have your children, hang on to them. The child protection system is a very, very troublesome place. You will find out that it's not the way you think an agency should be. The child protection system is purpose is to protect our children from neglect and abuse and do family reunification. And with the family reunification, we hope to get your family back together that has been broken apart by the child protection system. The child protection system, so far that I've been dealing with or talking about it, I've been fighting them for over 15 years, and I've been talking on this podcast since October of last year, and I wanted to really help y'all with what has happened with my situation, and things that happen to me I can pass on to you that would help you. It's an agency you can't trust, you can't depend on. There's a lot of trickery, deception, lying, cheating. They're out to get your children for the whole purpose of money. Money is what makes them, I guess, so awful. Is the idea of money. Excuse me. And so, I want you all to know that there is hope out there, and so forth. There's several people that I'd like to see if they can come aboard. First one is Danielle. She's from Georgia. She had been my co-host, but her computer has fouled the muck, and so hopefully she'll get one soon. The other person is Faye, and she comes on regularly. She's from Richmond, Kentucky, and hopefully she will join us. Okay. There's several ways you can interact with this podcast. One of the first ways is that you can hold on a second. I've just somehow is that you can text a comment. I'm broadcasting on YouTube using the StreamYard application. And one of the easiest way to participate in this podcast is you can text a comment to me. It's about CPS, though. We need to focus on the child protection system. Anything related to the child protection system. All I ask is that you show me your name, the city, the state or country that you're from, and then also be very complete with your CPS question, your case, meaning start from the beginning, talk about how many children involved, what you're accused of, and that kind of thing. And then you just want to be very complete from start to where you are now at the moment. I don't want to play ping pong ball and ask you a question and you come back with a question, and it can be very time consuming. It's best for you just to tell me your story as complete as possible, and we'll try to help you. It's really tough at the agency you're with because they're not very friendly. They're not pro parents, and they're really out to get you and your children. They traffic illegally, traffic you into foster care. They lie, they alienate your children from you. You have to be really careful about them. One way is to text a comment. Another way is you could call in to my office, and it's Bob Pace. Call in at 626-698-0990. That's my office phone. I will answer it during my show times. Now, my show times are Monday through Sunday from 10 o'clock in the morning, except on Sundays. You saw today it was 8 o'clock on Pacific Standard Time for 1 hour. And then at nighttime it's 7 o'clock. That's Monday through Sunday. That's 14 shows a week that I do this podcast. And I really want to help you all fight the CPS and keep your children or get your children back. It's very important that you definitely fight them and definitely hang on to your children. So you call in and you'll be live on the show at 626-698-0990. And just be your voice. I'll put on speakerphone. Okay. Okay. Now, another way you can participate with this podcast is you can be a guest on my show. And to be a guest, all you have to do is contact my show producer. That's Grace at vincentwdavis.com. You email her, tell her that you want to be on one of my shows, my Sunday morning show or Saturday evening or Wednesday morning or Monday evening, and she'll get in touch with you and give you the link to be on the StreamYard application and help you what to do and how to prepare to be on the show with my guest. You can talk about your guest and also help others that text and comments or that may call in and so forth. So just email Grace at vincentwdavis.com and she will definitely help you. Now I'm going to put my phone number back up. And I'll leave the phone number there. And I really encourage you to call in about your case. Now we have, as I mentioned to you on comments, we have people from around the world. We have countries now. We've had Australia and Canada, United Kingdom, Ghana from South America, Mexico. We've had Mozambique on the east side of Africa, above South Africa, across from Madagascar. We've Rwanda on East Africa, in the middle of Africa, near a big lake. And then we have Liberia, which is on the west coast. Called in several times. Archie there, who's a scout leader, likes to talk in the room and so forth. So we have people from also Denmark and Sweden have called in. And all of you, I want to welcome your calls and see if I can help you with your CPS. CPS is a worldwide issue in a lot of different countries, and it's really hard and struggling. I don't know if the United States is any better or any worse, but I've only had one social worker. Her name was Carol from Maryland that said she was a social worker, that she had a degree in clinical psychology, and that she'd done 6 months of training in the state of Maryland about CPS. It was good to hear from her comments, but I don't know if she just had an ideal situation or what, because the people from Maryland have called about all kinds of issues and problems that have happened with their cases in there. Now, I'm not an attorney, but I have 4 rules that will help you in your struggle against CPS. Now, this CPS, you get an idea of who they are and what they do, is that they will lie to you and they will retaliate against you. They're not into family reunification. And I say this because, as I told you, I've only talked to one social worker. The rest have been all negative. Not the social workers, but the people reporting their case. And it's a hard thing when you're up against these people. There's a group of social workers in Prescott, Arizona in 2022. They decided to wear pink T-shirts, and on the front stenciled was, "Do you know where you're, they're professional child kidnappers." They wrote that on the front of the T-shirts, "Professional child kidnappers." And on the back, they had stenciled in that, "Do you know where your children are at?" And they paraded around Walmart and Target down in Prescott and really startled a lot of people, because it's like they're advertising the wrong message. They should be. They social workers should be loving people, people that want to help other people, not people that want to get money and retaliate against you as parents. That was sad. That was really sad. I'm a little bit cold. I don't know. Sometimes I do my podcasts outside and it's cold. Yes, in California, we do get cool weather. But these ladies and social workers in Prescott, Arizona, were fired, as well as the director. That was 8 of them, over 25 years of experience. And it left them with one person to handle the whole child protection system. And in Arizona, it was called DCF, Department of Children, Department of Children's Services, DCS. Every state will have different acronyms for their child protection system. Now, I just say CPS because I like to talk about all the states that are going through it. It's really, really hard. There's parents that I have on my show that are virtually hanging on to the hopes of getting their children back, and it's so bad. I lost my precious daughter. I'm a loving family man with 6 children, 3 older and 3 younger. My 3 younger were taken in 2015. They were not in extreme danger. They were taken from schools, all based on the fact that they charged me with neglect because I had my parents' belongings stacked in my home because my parents were dying and I was sorting their belongings and all their 55 years of marriage and their belongings. I was trying to send off to family and friends. I had lost my job in 2010 through no fault of my own, so I had no money for storage or anything, so I had it with my house. And they charged me with neglect. I could not believe it. And then on top of that, they took my children. They said they're in imminent danger. I don't know, being in school was considered imminent danger, but they took them. They did put them with next of kin. But I later found out the next of kin were the people reporting false allegations, and for 5 years I was fighting it off. They would call every week, my in-laws, my wife's family. And it was sad because they never really were for us. I've been married for 32 years, and they didn't show up to the wedding. They didn't show up for any activities. And so I did not know they're the ones making the accusations. So, accusations are made by 2 kinds of individuals, laymen and professionals. The professional people have to because of their job, like a teacher, a nurse, a doctor, a policeman, a fireman. Anybody like that is required by law to report neglect or abuse. And most of the time, they're pretty correct in reporting. They're not really using the allegations for their own gain. Um, boy. The other kind of individual is your layperson. That could be your neighbor, it could be your cousin, your aunt, uncle. It could be family, friend, or something like that. And it could also be a layperson that wants to get revenge with you. For instance, your neighbor has a dog that barks all the time, and your neighbor calls in a CPS to say there's a child alone in the backyard. The family doesn't even have a child, but they get involved, and they do it just to retaliate against parents, which is sad. They will lie. They will say horrible things about parents. They may not like the way your bushes or trees are encroaching their property, so they'll call in. And they do it for the whole purpose of causing harm. It's like people that make allegations should do so in writing. They should sign their name to it. And if they did make a false allegation, the information should be released so prosecution can happen. It's got to be as serious a thing. They should not use it. Sometimes parents will call against one another to try to get the kids. It's sad, but It does happen. It does happen. It happened in my case. I just didn't know about it at first. Uh, and it's an uphill battle. It's really hard uh, when you're fighting CPS because you don't know what you're doing. You don't. CPS is like you're Alice in Wonderland. You've fallen in a rabbit hole and you go room to room. You don't know what's going on. I mean, they say off with your head or some crazy stuff. It's really sad. CPS is very vindictive and they do retaliate. They take revenge. They did it with my daughter. It was so sad. I had a beautiful 12-year-old daughter. I mean, I have 3 boys, 3 girls. 3 of my children are old, like over 25 when this happened. And my younger ones were 12, 9, and 15. And they were taken when they were in extreme danger. That day, they took my children from school. They didn't have permission to do so, but they went ahead and did so. And they placed them in a foster shelter. Now, this foster shelter was next to the courts in Orange County and right next door to the prison for juveniles. Their play yard was the same as the sheltered play yard. So the kids are exposed to juvenile prisoners. They're serving time for cases that they committed. Furthermore, the play yard was infested with beehives, and the children were being attacked by bees. They didn't have very good food. It was unacceptable. The place was dirty, and their idea of school was someone reading them a book. Now, my children, were in STEM programs. That's where they take a science class, a technology class, an engineering class, and a math class. And they're doing that at the levels that they're at. They're all wanting to be, well, my daughter wanted something in sports. My 2 boys wanted something in engineering science. So their schooling was interrupted. The CPS system, and in California it's called the CPS, Child Protection Services, is very corrupt. They were getting money from the state, $20,000 per child per month. That's $60,000 they're getting from my family. If you had 100 families in that Orange County district there, 1 month they would make $6 million. 1 month, $6 million. And that's if they had 100 family with 3 children in each family. So it was really hard on me. It was really hard on me. And they really did lie. They're very deceitful. They don't help you with beans. There's a lot of things that went wrong on, and so forth. Now, my case, as it progressed and on, I didn't have an attorney because I had been laid off, so I didn't have the money. And I tried to fight them for the first year, and it got worse for me. I went to the director, and it went in one ear, went out the other ear. He was in a building that looked like the Taj Mahal of India or the Emerald City of Oz. And he himself was very, very richly decorated. And they weren't any help because what they're doing was wrong. But they don't care. They don't care about your civil rights or constitutional rights. They will attack you and attack you, attack you. Their whole goal is to keep you in foster care for as long as the children till they're 18. That's what they want to do. They want to be either adopted or stay in the system, a terrible system, terrible. Words cannot express to me what they did to my family or did to me. Yeah, I mentioned my young daughter who was 12 at the time. The social worker was caught lying and she was being cross-examined. That's when I hired an attorney. I hired Mr. Davis. I sold my home. It was so sad. I worked 40 years for. But I sold my home and used the money to pay Mr. Davis to get my kids back. But apparently, on one of the cross-examinations, the social worker lied, and we caught her in a lie. And then she told us parents that she's going to retaliate. So she told our daughter at 12 that you're going to divorce your parents, you're going to change your name, and you're going to steal your birth certificate and then be adopted in a foster care family. She did all those things. It was hard to believe that she would divorce us. She divorced her from her brothers, her grandparents, and so forth. But she didn't know any better. At age 12, she didn't know what she was doing. So, with great sadness, my family was disrupted. It was so bad. It was so bad. It still hurts. And to know that my daughter's gone. My boys, I still encourage them to see. She's 21, and on July 9th, she'll be 22 years old. And we miss her so very, very much. She left her foster care family because she was molested, and so now she's living with her sister and her family. But it hurts so bad to talk about my case. And this isn't a talk about my case, but to show you that you need to get an attorney. There's a reason for a real attorney, not a court-appointed attorney, a real attorney. I got nowhere trying to fight it myself. I got nowhere with my court-appointed attorneys. They're a waste of time. They don't fight. They're friends with the judge and the social workers, attorneys. They get children, their own attorneys. Again, they're the ones that are court appointed. And the court appointed attorneys just don't fight, they go with the flow. They're friends and everything else. So I'm telling you, the court appointed attorneys are not your friend. They're not going to fight for your case. They have a caseload of 20 or 30 or more clients. And the only time you see them is when you're in your court hearing. And that's too late to do planning strategically or how they're going to get your children back. So I know some of you will end up doing, and then you regret it. I regret it. That's why I sold my home and got an attorney. And that leads me to my first rule. Rule number 1, have a real attorney, someone that can, navigate and knows how to fight CPS. They're called a family dependency attorney. A family dependency attorney. And they're out there. Fighting CPS is like open heart surgery. It's the same parallel. Now, with open heart surgery, you're not going to open your heart yourself or have a layperson open your heart or have a plumber or an auto mechanic do it. You're going to get a professional doctor who's gone to medical school, who's done an internship, and that has mentored another doctor before they go ahead and open up your heart. CPS is the same way. You need a professional. A person who's gone to law school to pass the bar exam that specializes in family dependency law. Family dependency law. That's the area of law that you're in with. Anyway, His name is Mr. Vincent W. Davis. He has a law firm of Vincent W. Davis and Associates, and he is a fighter. He has over 35 years of experience in CPS, and he will get your kids back. He cares about you, and he's a trial attorney. He's a fighter. In fact, he's sued CPS both in state court and civil court and won cases against them. So he is a great attorney, and he's offering right now to talk to him for 30 minutes with Mr. Davis about strategies of how to fight CPS. He'll do that 30 minutes for $60. All you do is call in to 888-888-6582 and ask the office to schedule your time with a consultation of 30 minutes for $60. Tell them Bob Pace sent you, and also when you speak to Mr. Davis, say that Bob Pace sent you. Mr. Davis is a likable man, easy to talk to, and will help you. And if you decide to retain him as attorney, he'll tell you how much the retaining will be. It's not cheap. A lot of times if he goes out of state, he has to cover his travel expenses, transportation, and his living expenses, accommodations. So, when you do get him aboard, you'll feel great relief. A really great relief. So have a consultation, and when you speak to the man, tell him that Bob Pace sent you. It's really important. So that's my rule number one. You need to get a professional attorney. You need someone that will be a fighter, and Mr. Davis is a fighter. Now, rule number two that I talk about is that you need to keep yourself organized with your paperwork. People have a tendency to write things on envelopes and post-it notes and scratches of paper and throw everything into a pile. You need to get yourself a 6-inch thick 3-ring notebook. That way you can keep all your papers in there organized. And in the notebook, you're going to fill it with college rule notebook paper. It's easy to write, and you can express anything you want. It's your notebook. But you want to get some subject tabs that will help you organize it. And you can have ones for incidents, another one for parenting classes, another one for programs that you've taken, another one about info, about CPS, all your links and so forth. Another one could be all your court papers. You'll hole punch them, make a log, and stick them in that section. You should make a log in all the sections so you can find out what that whole section entails. Anyway, one of the most important ones is incidents. Anything you have with CPS, either with the agency or the police or anything related to it, should record each incident separately. And you should have put down the date, the time, the location, and the people that are involved on the first line. The next line could be describing your incident. The third line is the outcome. You put the outcome, and hopefully you come back to it 6 months, a year later, and you remember it there. But you should put the incidents. That's one of the most important things to put in your notebook. Also, when you have your court papers, you hole punch them, put them in there. The information tab should be a list of all the CPS links you have on the internet, phone numbers, things that can help you. Things that can help you. Oh. You can use a highlighter, a yellow or pink highlighter, to highlight things so you can find things readily. But if you take that book with you to your court hearings and to your attorney and so forth, you'll have all your notes in all organized fashion. You got to remember, they're tricksters. They'll try to trick you out. The whole purpose is to feed that $80 billion business they have going. I mean, that's more money than the Ukraine's receiving in military funding. So it's a big, big expense that the government uses the money, our taxpayer dollars, to that, through no fault of your own. Uh, the rule number 3 that I have suggested is a very important one. It's where you do not talk to social workers. It's yes, no answers. Anything you say will be used against you, so you don't want to talk to them. I did that mistake. That was wrong of me. And I like to talk, and so I talk too much. So what you can do is, if it gets to the point where you feel uncomfortable, you just tell them, I need to do a timeout. I need to speak to my attorney about this. I will get back to you. That's an easy way to get out from the social workers talking to them. No, you just got to learn to not talk to them. That also goes true for the police too. It's yes, no answers. And if you feel really uncomfortable, just say, I need to speak to my attorney about this matter. I will get back to you. But don't agree to anything. Um, Also, you don't want to let them in your home. That's a no-no, because they will try to take your child. They also will inspect your home. Your home is your castle. It's your constitutional right. There has to be imminent danger happening to your child for them to enter your home, such as a child being slammed against the wall, domestic violence has taken place, or someone's using a gun, or physical harm against your child. Then the CPS workers or the police will enter your home. So the best thing to do is, I tell people not to answer the door and hide in the back part of the house, because they will try to intimidate you and force you into your home. They can do so if there's imminent danger. Also, if they have a court order, they can come in or talk to you or take your children. But you got to check out that court order. You got to make sure it's legit. There's got to be a real judge's signature on it and a boss stamp on it. And it's got to specifically tell you what they're doing. You know, they're investigating your home. They're charging you, and there's the counts of the charges. And you don't want to let them in your life, because they're going to make your life miserable. Best thing to do, if you encountered social workers or the police, especially if you're outside, you should try to keep everything outside, is that I cannot talk any further. I need to speak to my attorney. And that is your constitutional right, to have an attorney present at all times during this investigation. So I tell you, don't speak to them. Don't let them in your home. Um, if you do confront with them, you got to be pleasant and say yes, no answers. There's also medical trafficking. You got to be careful there. They will take your children. If you, for instance, gone to urgent care with your child because of a high fever or something that's bugging him, and you talk to a real doctor, make sure you go to the urgent care of your insurance policy, or the hospital emergency room. You want to make sure you go to the one that you feel comfortable with, because social workers are there working as case workers, and they will try to take away your child. Their goal is money orientated. So it's terrible. You bring your child in, and the next thing you know, a social worker wants to take your child because what the doctor may have found may be bad or good. It all varies from case to case. And there's another aspect of it called medical trafficking. And that's what we're talking about. You brought your child in urgent care, and then social workers are there, and they try to take away your children. They try to use police as intimidation. There's also the pregnancy that you may be going through when you went to the hospital. They're going to try to take your child there, especially if you tested positive for drugs. It's really complicated, but you want them not in your birthing room. You want to be there, and you want to go home and have family members support you or take care of you. So I've heard of stories where mothers just gave birth and the social worker and the police walk in, take the child. You got to make sure you talk to the hospital ahead of time that the only people in your birthing room are the people that you pick. And social workers and policemen don't belong in there. They can sit out there in the lobby. I mean, they may have a court order. Most of the time they don't. So that's medical trafficking. Also, I'd like to relate a story to you about trying to open the door. There's a 23-year-old Air Force airman that was living in a nice, respected apartment. And the Gainesville Sheriff Department received a report of domestic violence. The sheriff went to investigate the scene, and he shot the man point blank 5 times in the chest, and he was dead as he was talking to his girlfriend on FaceTime. That's a horrible experience for her to see her boyfriend be murdered like that. It was excessive force that wasn't necessary for what was happening. The policeman is fired. He was a white guy that somehow thought that his life was in danger. Now, the man that he killed was in the home alone, and no attempt was made to talk to the guy ahead of time. The policeman knocked a couple times and said nothing. The Air Force airman, he's black, got his gun because he was worried about his safety. He had a license to carry the gun and use the gun. So, he was approaching the door. Now, both of them made a mistake. The first mistake that the sheriff did, he did no prior investigation, like listen in walls or look through windows or talk to neighbors. He just went there, stood in front of the door, which is a mistake that sheriffs should not do. they need to be away from the door, near to the left of a door jamb. And what the sheriff should have done when he knocked on the door, it should be a firm knock and say, identify who he was. He was the Gainesville sheriff, and identify what's going on, that he's there to investigate reports of domestic violence. And then he should ask the gentleman inside, are you alone? And the gentleman inside could say, I'm alone, or I am with somebody. But that was not made. Furthermore, the policeman ordered the door open. Well, the 23-year-old man should have not come too near the door. But since he did, the Gainesville police could have sit there and say, if delay faced, open the door or unlock the door, lay face down with your hands behind your head, and if you have a weapon, put it to the side. That way, when the policeman opened the door, he could peer around the bottom of the door jamb and see the situation. He could have jumped on the guy, handcuffed him, slide the weapon further away so he knew where the weapon is, and then he could have searched the apartment for other people. And that way he'd be alive. The sheriff would still have a job. But the sheriff did so. I don't know where his training was or his head was thinking. But you don't shoot. He could have shot the guy in the foot or the shoulder or the arm, but he didn't. And the fellow that answered the door was shot. He died right there. Needlessly. So remember, do not open a door. You don't know who might be out there. It may be a crime in the neighborhood, maybe a guy going around shooting people. So you don't need to open the door. Just think about that black man at age 23, dead. Yeah, they terminated the sheriff. They terminate him. But that's not going to bring the black man back. That's not going to bring him back. So, don't answer the door. Now, my last rule number 4, is you need to investigate CPS. You need to see all there is on the internet about them. So if you live in Atlanta, Georgia, you say CPS Atlanta, Georgia, and you see all the articles or how to fight CPS in your city and state. And that will show up a lot about that particular agency. And it's called research. And the power of the internet will help save your children, bring them back. There's no question. There's a lot of valuable information. A lot more so than I can sit here and talk for hours. But I want you all to think about the rules that I've told you. To think about the think about your lovely children. I know you love her. I miss my child so bad. And my boys, my 2 younger boys, were got back by Mr. Davis. But they've been messed up. They've been messed up by child. The whole family's still messed up. I lost my home. I lost my credit thanks to CPS. I lost one of my children and put the whole family through needless trauma. And it still affects me today. It still hurts me to talk about it. And it's not right that you all should have to go through this. But there is hope at the end of the tunnel. There's hope at the end of the tunnel. And you will get back. You need to fight. You need to get to yourself attorney to fight for you. And so I want you all to not give up. I want you all not to give up. And I want to thank you all for listening to my podcasts and being there, you will get your kids back. Now I'm on again at 7 o'clock tonight. I must end my show because it's 9 o'clock. And thank you all for listening. God bless you all and keep fighting for your kids. This is Bob Pace signing off.